Good morning, Mystic Mamas. And I'm not just talking to those of us who have got snot bags, but actually all of us, because we need to mother ourselves. So this is a little ritual to help with that, to celebrate this Taurus new moon. The new moon was actually last night at around between 6 and 7 p.m. And I was with a different group of priestesses that I work with, and I just wanted to share some of that information with you today as well, because that time to tune in and to call things in carries on for a few days before and after. So for those of you who don't work with the moon yet, it's a wonderful way to work with the rhythms of nature. Particularly useful if your moon days are becoming a little less regular. It brings a little bit more structure back into your life, and you can work, in these lovely ways. The full moon is very much for releasing things. It is a great time for celebration, full power. It is also a time that shines very much on the shadows, so can be a little bit crazy. And so the new moon is a wonderful time where everything is in complete darkness, completely internal, and the moon is about to start going into its crescent phases up to full moon. So it's really the time to cool things in. And we're going to do that today around the subjects of Taurus and the priestess of the lover. And I did plan to do this starting with Aries. We had 2 Aries new moons because it's the beginning of the zodiacal calendar, but I chickened out. So I'm starting today with Taurus, because Taurus also is a very beautiful, sumptuous sign. It has a lot to do with sensuality and wealth and worth. And so sensuality and values, really. And so on the sensual side, it's sort of the embodiment of being a human. It's how we resource ourselves both internally and externally. It's our relationship to wealth. It's basically the house of worth, self-worth, and how we measure worth in the external world. It's also the sign of magnetism. So it's a great double whammy of the new moon calling in, but also Taurus calling in. And it is going to be, we are changing over to Gemini shortly, but actually, as the new moon is still in Taurus, we're going to take full advantage of that. So on the sensual side, to bring a bit more sensuality, sexuality, using all your senses to really experience this planet, deep care, deep love of the nature. And this was also reflected then in the priestess of the lover, which similarly enjoys sexuality, pleasure, how, looking at what brings you pleasure in life, how you express your pleasure, how you express your sexuality, all these sort of subjects. And with the way that the stars are standing at the minute, I'm not going to go into the detailed analysis, but it really is a very, very good time to create some structures around wealth and sustainable wealth, figuring out how to create sustainable wealth in your life and what that looks like. So for now, I'm going to go a little bit more into the priestess of the lover. There are many different deities that are associated with love, sexuality, juiciness. It's kind of also the Empress card in tarot. It's the Queen. It's the woman who really stands in her own skin and owns her own throne, as they say. She owns her own throne, is very confident and really full of self-love and self-esteem. And so I'm sure this is something we can all be working towards. It's really it really ties in with Mental Health Week as well, because it's always, a lot around how we speak to ourselves and how we consider ourselves. So a beautiful thing with the priestess of the lover is that she has different tools at her disposal and different symbols. So the symbol for the priestess of the lover is the rose. The rose has long been associated with spiritual and conscious involvement. It's like the unfurling of the different levels of consciousness. It's a very high frequency flower. In fact, it's the highest frequency plant there is, when they've tested the electromagnetic frequencies of various different plants. The highest one was the rose with 320 megahertz, whereby frankincense was, so just go check my notes, I think 147, and myrrh at 107. So we can see that the rose has been used for many thousands of years. It's actually been mentioned in Sumerian texts 5,000 years ago, and also was used, pictures of it in the temples in Egypt, very much associated with Isis, and of course very much associated with Mother Mary. There are a myriad of other goddesses. So for the ritual that I'll tell you about, I did bring in my goddess my goddess cards, where I have some. I've got a goddess oracle deck, and it's quite useful for also just having the images of various goddesses to work with. So the ones I've brought today, another great one is Hathor, who is literally sort of, I don't know if you can see this, she's the Egyptian goddess of abundance, and she's got the sun between her horns, and she's just very juicy lady. We've got Lakshmi, who's all about abundance as well. I don't know if these will ever show up properly. There we go. Lakshmi is an Indian goddess. Hathor is Egyptian. Lakshmi, again, abundance, wealth, free-flowing, ease and grace, juiciness. African version, well, African South American version is Oshun, the goddess of the flowing rivers, flowing waters, sensuality. Greek one would be Aphrodite, and Venus obviously is the Roman version of that. And we have in the Japanese Amaterasu, sorry, I can't say it properly, who is all about beauty. And so you can find ones that work for you. I can also send you a list of all the various ones. There's many associated with a rose, and also with love and sensuality. So there's a great addition to work with on your altar, which I'll tell you about in a minute. The tool of the priestess of the lover is the mirror. The mirror is really about radical affirmation, and the affirmations say, that all shapes, forms, sizes, colors, identities are welcome and beautiful. And it's really there to help us build a steady foundation of self-esteem and self-love. We've all fallen foul of the beauty myth, and it's really something that's been brought down through the generations and is, sort of almost in our genetics. So it's really deep work to try and overcome that. We all have things we don't like about ourselves, or we think are not right or feel wrong, due to this sort of beauty myth that's perpetuated and extremely toxic, sort of ever-changing and never achievable. So it's the mirror helps us to slowly eke out all the many ways in which we cannot see ourselves fully as beautiful. And this kind of work requires a lot of patience, courage, perseverance, and really steady showing up, steady consciousness to see where we're talking to ourselves in a negative way. And it really takes, a bit of gung-ho-ness to really get in there and transform our hidden biases around this. So we have the mirror can be the mirror of truth and the mirror of distortion. And the mirror of distortion is where we say to ourselves, if only I could be this, then I would be happy, or I will be happy when. My boobs are bigger, smaller, hips are wide, all these things, especially on our external bodies. I will love myself when. I will be good enough if I look like this, or I behave like that, or all these questions like that. So the mirror of truth is really there to sort of say to yourself, I see you, I truly see you, and I will be, what an amazing miracle I am. So that's obviously quite hard to say to ourselves on more than some days, but it does really get easier the more we look, and it can be a really strong daily practice just to spend 30 seconds daily as you're getting ready to really give yourself some love in that way. Taking that analogy of mirror further, you can also have the mirror of your relationships. Relationships really are, a great opportunity to work on yourself, because they do inevitably bring out your worst sides in time. And if you have got the presence to see and to observe what's going on, there's really a lot of learning in that space as well, and the opportunity of great intimacy if you're willing to be honest and share with your partner and take that sort of mission to speak openly about your emotions and your feelings and what triggers you. And then also there's that opportunity to use the mirror as other as self. That's a whole exercise which I can tell you more about, but it's really the idea that we are all connected, and if there's things in other people we don't like, they tend to often be things within ourselves that we don't like, but it's easier for us to project onto other people than it is to look at these shadows within ourselves. So for the altar, for this little mini ritual, as already mentioned, it'd be great to have some roses. I don't know if you've got any in your garden or if you've gone out to get some. If you do have any roses, or even just an image of a rose, just something to bring in that frequency, that'd be great. Also to have a mirror. Preferably a nice mirror, not necessarily one that makes you look huge. If you have got a beautiful mirror somewhere, that would be great. But, any mirror will do, essentially. Then it would be lovely to lay out a sort of cross. And for the east, which is air, find something in your house that makes you feel really buoyant, that makes you feel sort of ecstatic and energy, or reminds you of a time when you felt amazing. For the south, as fire, so any candles, pink or red or white, would be great. And also any anointing oils. If you have got any rose oil, that would be fantastic, but also any other oils that you particularly love and feel very, very sort of sensual with. For the west, it is water. And so if you can find a beautiful vessel or chalice, or just a beautiful vessel that you can have water in, and also pop the mirror on that side. And then on the north, that's earth, sacred foods that you can eat, and also a symbol that you might have that represents wealth for you. So that can be, financial or any other type of wealth. So once you have, and then for the center, actually, find something that's a sort of sacred symbol for your spiritual journey, something that sort of you feel very connected with, and can be a crystal, or, you'll know what feels right. So for the actual ritual, I'd say light a candle, and then, play a song as you're lighting a candle, and just sit and listen to the song and look at your array, your altar, and really sort of tune into all the pieces there. If you want to smudge, obviously that's part of your process. Feel free to do that at this point. And then also it's useful to have a journal with you. So in the journal, as you are listening to the song, just journal along these questions, and I'll also write them into the text box afterwards. So the journal is, what is it that you truly desire? And what are your core values? And come up with maybe 3 for now that you really want to act on or bring into your life at this point. The next question is, what does wealth mean to you? And finally, how do you express your sensuality? Well, how do you love to express your sensuality? What makes you really happy and feel fabulous in your skin? So take a little time to do those. Obviously, you can run through this later, or you can take notes on this and just read those off when you do your own little ritual. And so once you've answered those questions and you just had a bit of sort of grounding into these ideas, find that little voice inside you, that negative voice that you keep coming back to, however hard you try. There's always that one sentence or one word, like, you're never going to make any money. You're never going to be able to keep your money. You're this ridiculous. Why are you even trying? Everyone's always better. It's always going to be better than you. You're never going to make any money doing this job, or you're never going to make any money doing what you love. Any of these, well, those are all particularly around money, but you can also look at ones, just pick whatever, there's the one that really comes forth when you think about this just now. And when you've got one, take your journal again and make a little symbol, a little tiny symbol of a representation of how that feels. And don't have to think about it too much, just pop down anything. And then draw 8 rays, so north, south, east, west, and diagonally coming out of the symbol. And then when you have your sentence written down, turn it into the positive. So mine was, for example, I'm too chaotic to create anything meaningful. And I switched that round to I create efficiently with ease and grace. So whatever sentence you come up with, I am, I have, I create, do, bring, whatever these things are, and then what positive things, and then at the end, add with ease and grace. And then take your pen and write this sentence at the end of every ray, all those 8 times, and do it very slowly and meaningfully so that it really goes in. And then it's time to play another song. And in fact, I will put the link in for this particular song. It's Blessed We Are by Paya. I think it's a beautiful one to do this to, is to hold up the mirror to your face and look at the mirror and really listen to the song and look at yourself while you're doing this. From the sort of tantric traditions, they say that the right eye is the sort of personal one, I think, and the left one is your strong one, and then the right one is the sort of one that likes to hide. Is that right? The right eye is the strong one, sorry, and then the left one's the one that likes to hide. So actually see if you can hold your own gaze left to left. Don't know if that works with the mirror, but and then if you do know the song, obviously feel free to sing along as well, just because there's a real beauty. And when the song is finished, go ahead and say some affirmations. Say the affirmation that you've written down 3 times, and start with I am worthy. Then say your affirmation that you've written down 3 times, and then add to those with I'm beauty, I am love, I am magical, I am worthy again, I love you, all these ones, anything that comes to mind for you at this point. And really try and hold your gaze and really try and speak from your heart to yourself. It can feel very difficult at this stage, and it is something that I would really recommend doing every day for the next 2 weeks up to full moon, and longer, really, as long as it takes for you to not find it awkward anymore and really believe what you're saying. But then when you're done with that, write a sentence or 2 about what you're calling in with this new moon, along the topics of sexuality, relationship, wealth, your relationship to wealth. It can be something like, what did they have yesterday? They had, things just like, red hot sex with my lover, abundance, financial abundance. Other people have financial freedom, clarity around jobs going forward, that kind of thing. So it can be anything you want, 1 or 2 sentences, not too much, just keep it really concise and clear, or write a bit and then really nail it into 1 or 2 sentences. So you've got clarity on that. And when you've got that sentence, look at your altar, speak your sentence to your altar 3 times, slowly and deeply, from that place that you've just been looking into the mirror with. And when you're done with that, blow out the candle and anoint yourself with the oil as well, because that's been blessed. Drink some of the blessed water, and maybe say a prayer for that anything that you've asked for may also be given to everyone else. And essentially end with, may all beings be happy. The best prayer in the world. Then, as the weekend goes on, keep in that vibe as much as you can. Take a lot of rest. There is a lot of impetus right now to get financial sorted, but, you know, take a weekend off, have some deep, deep rest. Think more about, you know, very vaguely, you know, very gently about how you might look at your financial structures and what needs changing there in the next few weeks, something that you can work on. But, you know, basically really just tune into deep care of the planet. Go outside, ground yourself by walking barefoot in the grass. You know, bless yourself with dew of the morning if you can. Have long, luxurious baths of bubbles and delicious smells. And, you know, eat delicious food that you've preferably cooked yourself. So it's all that lovely process of, you know, both making and receiving. And, you know, run around in cashmeres all day is basically what I'm doing. So there we go. I hope that's been a little bit of a jog, a little bit helpful. And I'm going to send you also a picture of my altar so you can kind of see what it looks like, and also the song I mentioned. And I'm just wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Lots and lots of blessings to you. And I hope to see you all very soon.